Hi everybody, Gisele Grenier here from artplace.ca. So for today's demonstration, I'm going to show you how to make a journal out of newspapers. Now this, I have another video on my blog about how to do this, but this is specifically related to the Dark Side of Vintage workshop that I'm going to be doing. Okay, so in another video you saw that we did this nice little journal with a pamphlet stitch, 20 paintable pages, okay, including the covers. But that requires you to buy a sheet of watercolor paper. So we have, most of us all have some type of newspapers and flyers and stuff like that. And what I did is I went to my blue box and I got a week's worth, and then I kind of separated them just to show you that depending on, like these are, they come in a flyer bundle and a bunch of different things, and sometimes they're the same size, except this one's not folded, or it has a piece here, okay, it's not folded evenly. So we have that. Then I'm with the shopper's flyer, and I look at that and you think, well, what can you do with that? And I'm thinking, immediately when I see this, I think of pocket. A pocket. So we could fold it the other way, just to show you. Cut this down here, and there's a journal with pockets. Okay? But because this has all been folded this way, all I would do is just take this piece out, just to keep the folds consistent, because they've already been burnished this way. Okay, I would take that out. Okay, and there's the piece ready for the pocket. Okay, you can keep it on the inside, but then when you cut this, you can put it outside or on the inside. It doesn't matter. Okay, so this would make a nice journal as well. Okay. What is this? This is something else. Again, these are uneven, folded quite sloppily. So this would require some cutting. So you could take this and you can actually just even cut it like this. That would actually make a really, really nice size, about 8 by 10. Okay. The actual newspaper, this is all part of this, I believe. And then this is one now for the events, Buskerfest. It's all the same size. Okay, this would be too big for a journal, so with this I would probably again just cut it down 8 by 10, which would make a really nice size. So if I was to look at doing something, I could turn around and think to myself, okay, line everything up. If I'm already going to be cutting it down to 8 by 10, then this doesn't matter. With the newspaper ones, the one that I did before, I don't even remember how I did it. I may have, I don't know, just did individual pages, but for this one, you want to make it with substance, okay, so it doesn't fall apart. So what I'm thinking is, you take 2, maybe 3 pages, depending on your newspaper, and we glue them together. Okay, so for gluing, I'm going to be using Decopage matte. Then to prime it, okay, again, depending on the ink that your newspaper uses, whether it's vegetable ink or permanent ink, it doesn't. I don't know. Sometimes if you paint on it, it might smudge. So I would rather just prepare it with gesso on top. So thinking, try to have about 20 pages if you can work with, 16 at the minimum. Okay, so if we count, so if you group them in sets of 3, so that will make 1 page. Okay, blah blah blah. This will make another page. That makes 2. Okay, 3, and you go on that way. Okay, and you build up the newspaper. So if we have to, we can even use, this one here, and we could even use this one here if you wanted a pocket. These are easy to make. Okay, so group them in sets of 3. So we have, at least 16. 20 is a really good number. Okay, but 16 is fine. And you just don't want to go to the store and buy a journal with like 100 pages, because we're not doing that many themes. We want this book to be strictly for the dark side of vintage. Okay, once you've counted everything out, okay, then we want to cut it. 8 by 10 is a good size. 8 by 10 is big enough that you can express yourself, but small enough that it's quick to finish a page. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to count all the pages, get them all set up, and then I'm going to cut them down to 8 by 10, and then I'm going to show you how we're going to prepare it. Okay, so I've got all my, I had to use all the newspapers. So I have it, and if I find that when I start gluing the first few sets of 3 pages is too much, then I'll just knock it down to 2. So what I did is I'm going to cut it 10 inches, okay, this way, but this way 8.5. Because as you start stacking pages together, okay, the inside starts to become uneven. That's because this is so thick. So I would rather cut it too long, then as we start stacking them together, if the pages start to go like this as we start binding everything together, we can always trim it down. Okay, so make sure that's nice and set there. And so on the fold, 8.5. I want it on the straight edge. 8.5, and I'm just using a Fiskars trimmer. And make sure that you don't force the cuts. Okay, you don't want to break the blade. So this is pretty easy, and then when we actually put it together, you'll have, because these will all be glued together, you'll have everything nested inside. Okay, and they're lined up pretty well. Okay, so you're just going to do that. So you're going to cut all your pages 8.5 wide by 10 inches high on the fold on this side. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and cut the rest, and then when we come back, we'll start gluing it. Okay, so I cut everything up. So what I have here is I have enough pages here to make 20 paintable pages, and everything that was left over, I'm going to use this for the cover. Okay, which is 6 sheets. I'm going to use these for the cover to make it nice and strong. This part here is very tedious. I'm just going to do a few pages, then I'll prepare them all off camera because it's the same step over and over again. So on a foam plate, decoupage, the matte finish, and I've got a golden Taklon brush. This is Royal Soft Gripped. Always dampen your brush. Never dip it into any type of medium without dampening it first. Bristle brush is the only thing you can do that with. Otherwise, you'll ruin the brush. So I'm making everything in sets of 3. So my book is going to have some substance to it. And I've got a Ranger No Stick mat here. And this is the tedious part. All I'm going to do is basically glue all the pages together. That's all I'm going to do. Now I may be tempted to thin down the decoupage a bit more, and I may have to do that. Okay, because it's going to dry a little fast. There we go. Just don't make it so thin that's going to break down the glue. So with this also you can get a bigger brush. So when you do this, we're going to glue everything first, and then when everything is dry, this will take to be totally dry where it's paintable, this will take about a day to dry. Then we'll place the other one on top. Okay. And just line up. I didn't cut this one straight. So we have a little bit of give here. What I should have done was I cut it 8.5 wide. I should have cut it 10.5 high. I forgot to give allowances because it didn't line up, which is fine. Feel it. Yeah, I think I am going to make it in sets of 3. Okay, so And I'm just going to glue this one. I'll just do this one, then the rest I'll do off camera. How about I reach over and I get my monster brush. This is a Langnickel large area brush. There we go. Look at that. I'm just going to wet that a little bit more. Now this decoupage is a very strong adhesive. You can use it for collage, as a glue, sealer. Just make sure that you wash your hands, because it's not toxic, but it's just that it's such a good glue, it'll be hard to wash off. Okay, so that's one set. Okay. And if you don't have enough glue on there, then what's going to happen is the pages are going to peel apart. That's it. So what I'll do is I'll hang this. I've got like a little portable clothesline in my studio, so I'll just hang that to dry. And when it comes to actually doing the gesso, I'll just show you this now. So with the gesso, reach. Oh, I don't have any more bristle. Well, I'll use this one. Gesso, nice and thick, and you can use a foam brush. And you're going to basically, once this is dry, I'm just kind of skipping this part of it just so you can see. When your newspaper is dry, you're just going to put some gesso on there and let some of these brush marks show through, because they'll dry like that. It'll just give your page a little bit of texture and a little bit of motion. And your page will be really, really strong. These wrinkles, let them be. Now this part here will take a little bit longer because you have to let one side dry before you can do the other side. So because I didn't measure it properly, I didn't cut it properly, my book is going to end up being about 8 by 9.5. So if you do yours on a newspaper, whatever size you want it, add a 1/2 inch. That way when you can paint, when you glue it, even if it doesn't line up, you'll still have lots of wiggle room for it to dry, or for it to be trimmed down. Okay, so there we go. So you're going to glue all your pages first, let them dry for a day, then you're going to put gesso on each side, letting each side dry first, and then when everything is finished, we'll come back and we'll bind everything. It's been about 24 hours now and everything is dry. You can see that is quite a rough application, but we're just priming the pages because now this can take paint. So I've basically laid everything out, and the thicker piece, the cover, is over here. And I have basically, it's the way it is. I folded each piece in half. Okay, take the bone folder, burnish it. Now there were some points where the gesso actually cracked, and that's just too much in there. The gesso is flexible, but it's flexible. Okay, it's not meant to be folded like fabric. Okay, as well, when I use coated paper stock, if I'm doing some type of paper art and I burnish it as well, it will also crack. That's just the nature of what you're doing. So with this will make a nice journal that you can work with. I already measured out the holes. I punched the holes already. And you can see from the edges, you can see some papers that didn't line up. I was having some thoughts about, once the whole thing is assembled, okay? Once the whole thing's assembled, I could actually trim this off. You can, if you want. Once you bind it all, you just take your metal ruler, X-Acto knife, and just cut through each layer, and then take them apart, and you can do it here and here. Myself, for the nature, if I was going to use this for my Dark Side of Vintage journal, this looks old and tattered, which is fine. The other thing that you could do is if your book is really thick, you could actually bind it one on top of the other. Now that binding is completely different. It's a bit beyond the scope of this project, but you might want to look at Coptic stitching. That I can't do in a very, very quick lesson. The stitching is a little bit more complicated. Okay, so I'm just going to make a little loop here. And I'm going to start from the outside. How I measured it is 2 inches in and then at 5. So we'll just, I'm going to go through each hole. And usually you can hold the signatures all together for this, because usually your paper is all the same size. But because my pages are a little bit off, I can't stack everything together and put the needle through everything all at once. I basically did a measurement, and I measured it from the top. This way works just as fine. And sorry, this one, the string is going to hang from the inside of the book, not the outside. Sorry, the inside. Okay. And we'll just put that up like this. Just make it nice and snug. If you find too that as do a practice one, but if you find that it tears, what you can do is reinforce this with the duct tape and then punch the hole through the actual duct tape. That'll work too. Okay, so out in the middle, and then we come through here. Where's the hole? Let me just line this up again. I got the last bits on that little bobbin for this, and it's really curvy. I can't find the hole. There we go. So it's through here, through here, through here, through here, and the last one. Once you do a few of these, it'll be a piece of cake. You can also clip them with binder clips. Now again, I'm not a professional bookbinder, so those of you that have been doing this for years, let's see if I can run this through. Oh yeah, it went through. Some of you have been doing this for years, probably laughing at how I'm doing it, but you know what? It works for me, and it's my personal journal, so that's fine. I want to make sure I don't go through the thread. I want to go through the hole. This is the part that's a little bit cumbersome. Because now what you have to do is you have to tighten. So if this string, don't pull in the opposite direction that the string is coming out, because then you'll just make a big tear. And I'm going to get rid of that knot. Oh, and of course it's not going to undo. That's okay. So the middle string in between the two, and I'm going to tie it. And then cut it. Oh, these are gummy. I got to clean these. And that's it. that's all set now. Okay, and yeah, this is the inside. There we go. Some pages are upside down, doesn't matter. There we go. And then what I'll do is I can put a couple of heavy books on top of this. That'll even further strengthen this. But now it's ready. It's ready to go. Now, so this is what I was talking about, how uneven these are. You can cut it if you want. I think myself I'm going to leave it because it adds to the character of the book. I want the book to look old. Okay, see there's 3 layers of paper here. So I'm going to leave it like that. Now this here, I had my papers on all these pages on the floor drying on parchment paper. Everything's on the floor. And Mia had gotten into my room because she was barking because there was somebody outside and she had got her paw right in here. So I'll have to make sure that my Dark Side of Vintage theme for this one has something about dog. But anyway, so that's it. Okay, so that's ready to go. Yes, I'll just put this into a book and just press it. But it's ready to go. But if you find that, now the good thing is that this can be taken apart. If you find that your holes are getting a little bit torn, just put either white duct tape or masking tape. Masking tape is good because you can paint over it. Even better, watercolor tape, because you can paint over that just to reinforce the pieces. But there you go. Although the newspaper was free, it does take a little bit of time, and there is the money involved in doing the priming with the gesso and the decoupage. So it's a 50-50 split. You can buy a sheet of watercolor paper and just sew it, or you can use your newspapers, glue them together with gesso. And the cost is of that material. It's completely up to you. I think this is really cool though. So with this, I will leave you with that. And then the next video, what I will do is I will show you how I'm going to, I'm actually going to use journal pages that I've already done to show you how to do a binding for what I call is my expanded journal method.